Hello everybody, welcome, thanks for coming. My name is Marcus. Today we're going to talk about what's new in SOLIDWORKS 2022. But the real stars of the show today are going to be the technical team on the CAD side. So our SOLIDWORKS AEs that do support, training, sales presentations, service implementations, all of those things. That's the team who's going to be presenting to you today. The first presenter is Kaylee, and she's going to talk about how the user experience or the user interface has changed with the 2022 release.
SOLIDWORKS 2022 is introducing many daily productivity enhancements to provide a more thoughtful user experience. Now, with this Nemo submersible, it's actually not complete unless all 4 of the subsea thrusters are accurately placed. SOLIDWORKS 2022 provides the command search as an integrated part of the S-key shortcut menu. This also includes searching through the interface for future reference. Now, the position and orientation of these thrusters are very, very precise, which means we're going to utilize a coordinate system for the second thruster. In 2022, coordinate systems can be defined using specific numeric values, which makes the placement of the second thruster fast, easy, and accurate. Right now, origin visibility is turned off to reduce on-screen clutter. The new Q key inside of SOLIDWORKS is a shortcut that allows the user to quickly turn on reference geometry such as planes, coordinate systems, and origins. Coordinate systems have visually and functionally changed in the 2022 version. Axes, planes, and even the point itself can be used to create sketches, section views, and more evaluations on our model. Now, these thrusters need to be mirrored. Commonly used tools can conveniently be added to the shortcut bar with one mouse click. And the new Q key shortcut even works while inside of feature property managers. You're going to notice other elements of the user interface have been overhauled, such as bubbles throughout system options to give much more insight into settings, what they're doing, and what they're controlling. Dismissed messages have always been easy to see, but sometimes the very long messages were truncated. Now we can simply hover over a dismissed message, see the entire message, and then easily choose whether we want to show it again or not. When we need to collect project and reference components, we immediately go to SOLIDWORKS Pack and Go. Now, 2022 is introducing a progress bar to give an indication of how long the Pack and Go process is going to take. This is ideal for those very large assemblies that we are constantly working with. SOLIDWORKS 2022 provides these enhancements to everyday use to make it even easier to use than ever before.
I'm definitely excited to be about using that Q key. Sometimes, especially people from other CAD tools that have come into SOLIDWORKS, they like to always have their planes visible. And this way you can kind of get the best of both worlds. You can keep them visible, but then very quickly toggle their visibility on or off. Those coordinate systems also look really nice. The ability to select the axis or the plane or the actual point of the coordinate system for utilizing as reference geometry, it's going to be a big help. Let's keep going with Kaylee. She's got some stuff in the new parts capability modeling, especially in mesh modeling.
Designers demand the ability to create manufacturable products using an ever-increasing variety of file formats. SOLIDWORKS 2022 has really focused on including more functionality for mesh BREP formats, as well as additional tools to help view and edit critical product information. This design has several ball valves which are equipped with a lockout tagout feature. These are perfect for this control panel, but the handle is really just too plain and basic to be incorporated in this type of a luxury product. The supplier had originally provided their files in a mesh BREP format. SOLIDWORKS 2022 introduces new hybrid modeling capabilities, which is going to allow us to work with these file types as if they were native SOLIDWORKS files. Adding features such as chamfers, extrudes, reference planes no longer require intermediate bodies or Boolean operations. The handle itself needs a slot for a lock. We can add slots directly through the whole wizard. Now the slot length can be defined by arctangents or centers. Also, when defining the slot, the tab key can be utilized for horizontal and vertical positioning. Manufacturing this handle will require draft, Bidirectional draft would be ideal. We can now accomplish this inside of a single feature inside of SOLIDWORKS 2022. No longer is multiple features required, only a simple checkbox in the draft feature. This particular mesh file contains 3 bodies, but the manufacturer wants to see the individual components. In SOLIDWORKS 2022, the Pack and Go feature recognizes references created when using the save bodies and split part commands. This allows the user to have these available directly in the Pack and Go interface and not have to search through Windows for these files. Section views have always been a great way to interrogate parts. SOLIDWORKS 2022 now allows us to use cylindrical and conical faces and axes. No longer are we simply dependent on planes in order to create this geometry. Now this 22mm cut thread is really causing a lot of complexity in this file. We can actually use the new stud wizard, which is a great choice for automatically recognizing diameters of bosses while still providing thread information. We can also provide undercuts with full control over dimensions. This is going to allow us to have thread callouts in 3D annotations and 2D drawings. SOLIDWORKS 2022 configuration-specific properties are split now into 2 tabs. The Configuration Properties tab works the way we're very used to. The addition is we can use a simple drop-down list to apply it to specific configurations. The Properties Summary tab provides a useful way to compare configurations based on select custom properties. Designers often have no choice on the files they receive from their supplier, but with SOLIDWORKS 2022 we have more flexibility than ever before to utilize additional mesh file types, as well as having improved visibility and editing capabilities to access critical product information.
That mesh modeling capability is huge. We're really excited to get our hands on SP0, which by the way is going to come out in late November. But we can't wait to see exactly what capabilities we have and how powerful that is. But it's really nice, especially for mesh files that were exported from CAD geometry. I'm looking forward to being able to use the master model techniques where the Pack and Go is going to be able to keep those file references and understand those references. And a lot of you may recognize the property summary in the configuration properties as being a feature that was introduced in weldments and their cut list property. So it's nice to see that functionality being kind of distributed to some of the other areas. Now let's continue on with Kaylee one more time and talk a little bit about structure systems and sheet metal.
SOLIDWORKS makes it easy to create frames and structures with its structure systems capabilities. 2022 is no exception, with enhancements to secondary members and the introduction of connection elements. Secondary members are defined using existing structural bodies. This vertical post will be carrying a heavy compressive and bending load, so will need extra support. Creating multiple secondary members is extremely fast in 2022, now that we can select a point and multiple bodies. All corner treatments are still extremely intuitive, allowing us full control over the end result. Also new in SOLIDWORKS 2022 is the ability to define or insert connection elements. These are ideal for items designed to be bolted rather than welded. The legs require a base plate, so the cradle can be attached to the floor. All we have to do is select the member and the plate is automatically centered at the end. And if a connection element does not meet design needs, it can be adjusted on the fly. These forklift lifting channels may need to be replaced if damaged. A connection element is perfect for this. Defining the position of the connection element is simple. Choose the faces of the members and then the convenient member planes to center the element. The connection element is smart and can even cut predefined holes in the members that are selected. Gussets and end caps are now also supported for structural members in 2022. Mirroring features and components is a very common function, and 2022 allows us to now mirror across 2 planes or faces. No longer is this an operation that requires 2 separate mirror features to complete. SOLIDWORKS introduced the ability to create an edge flange on a circular edge of a non-planar base. This was a 2021 enhancement. This has been improved to allow the user to edit the flange profile directly inside of the property manager so that we can specify the exact flange length that's required. Structure Systems is a powerful but very flexible tool. With these new enhancements to secondary members, connection elements, and mirroring, we can create frames and structure easier than ever before.
I don't know about you, but that double mirror feature is huge. It's kind of like double rainbow guy, like double mirror. It's simple, but it's extremely powerful. It's going to save a lot of time. And those connection elements, I'm really excited to dig into those. Look for some content specifically on those connection elements because I think there's a lot there to discover and explore in this new release. Let's go ahead and take a look at import and export settings, specifically with things like IFC. If you ever work with things like building and architects, you know that they've got 3D models that are just absolutely enormous, and they have every detail of the entire building potentially included so that each trade is able to look at the information they need. So the ability to import that information and filter it during the import has been improved a lot in 2022. So let's kick it over to Rick, also in our Phoenix office, a support specialist.
When collaborating with others performing design work focused on facilities, often you need to share your design data using alternate file formats like IFC. SOLIDWORKS 2022 has focused on improving both the efficiency and reliability of saving IFC file formats out for other design tools to leverage. Additionally, 2022 has improved its flexibility when reading IFC files as well. Now, when you open an IFC file, you can choose to filter specific object types to import, avoiding the need to open unnecessary geometry and focus on just the information you need to work with. For example, your task may only require the walls, floor, and furniture within the building. All of this means the imported files both open faster, but also do not contain overly complex geometry for the specific design task you need to perform when working with IFC data. Also, new for SOLIDWORKS 2022 is the ability to better support the export of DXF and DWG file formats from part files. Components often contain color information that is important for manufacturing processes, such as the color of sketches, bend lines, and other information. Now, when using the export to DXF and DWG for a part file and enabling to include these objects, their colors will be honored in the output of the file. This is extremely valuable for downstream operations where colors can represent different manufacturing processes or parameters for NC tool equipment. SOLIDWORKS 2022 has improved the way you can collaborate with others by improving the overall import and export experience to various file formats.
Man, I'm really looking forward to using those DXF exports with the colors embedded. For those of you who've ever called in for support trying to get some help with a map file to try to export certain types of entities to different layers or different layer colors, you'll know that this is going to make that so much easier and really help out with specific requirements. Let's take a look next at the graphics, not only graphics performance, but some enhancements to kind of optimize what we can do with graphical representations of things. So again, we'll go back to Rick in Phoenix.
Cosmetic and appearance changes happen regularly throughout the design process. Understanding and updating these changes should happen regardless of when or how you open your files. SOLIDWORKS 2022 now automatically resolves lightweight components that have had graphical or appearance changes, regardless if any features have changed since the components were last saved. This ensures that your components will always appear correctly. SOLIDWORKS introduced a unique and simplified way to incorporate complex textures within your designs in a previous release. By leveraging unique appearances on faces, bodies, or components, textures can be created on those surfaces to generate complex geometry quickly. SOLIDWORKS 2022 delivers increased performance and responsiveness when creating these oftentimes complex and highly detailed textures, meaning you can use them in more places without sacrificing performance. Another graphical change in SOLIDWORKS 2022 is the introduction of texture-based cosmetic threads. These new cosmetic threads, beyond looking great, make it much clearer to understand which components have threads on them. These threads will be used for any type of feature that includes cosmetic threads as well, from manually created threads to the new stud feature, and of course, the whole wizard. Finally, performance is always critical to saving you time. SOLIDWORKS 2022 has increased the frame rate when rotating parts and assemblies with silhouette edges by over 10%, saving you time with every single zoom, pan, and rotate.
And there's a lot of new capabilities to enjoy in that new enhancement set with the graphics. One that's probably a tip that you may not have noticed, it was a super slick thing that he did. It's not video editing magic. When he dragged the knurled appearance on there, he actually held down his Alt key and then dropped the appearance, and it immediately opened up the edit appearance dialog. Because that knurling it almost never is exactly the right scale, size. And so by holding Alt and then dragging it, you can immediately adjust that map, get the texture looking the way you want, the size you want, so it looks really, really nice. Let's go to a guy, this guy seems a little suspect to me, but apparently he knows a little bit about routing and electrical, so let's see what he's got for us.
Hello, I'm Marcus in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And building equipment harnesses can be quite a challenge because you've got both physical and electrical constraints you've got to meet. When you define a new component, such as a connector, adding the electrical connection points in SOLIDWORKS can now be done with a license of either routing or electrical 3D. Now, if you're using SOLIDWORKS Electrical, you can browse the component library or download the component definition from the electrical content portal, which gives you the full list of all required terminations. Select a point or an edge in SOLIDWORKS on the model to define each terminal, and when you click OK, all required information is loaded into the component, so it's ready to use. Backshells help protect the junction between connectors and wires and control the orientation of the wire as it exits the connector. And they're now fully supported for harness design, so you can make sure everything will fit as expected. Add and specify the rotation of the backshells, and then they can be flattened with those components intact to create documentation that's clear and accurate. Electrical and Routing 2022 makes harness design and documentation faster and easier than ever.
I like that guy. So, if you've ever had to go through and create a multi-pin connector, like an Amphenol connector or something like that, and define it specifically for electrical 3D, you know it can be tough because sometimes it's circuit 012 with connection points 01 on each, or maybe it's just one connection point each. So having it set that up automatically by deriving it from the electrical library is a big help. It's just lots of improvements to continue to make harness design and electrical design, and especially the handshake between the electrical and the mechanical teams just continually gets better. Speaking of electrical, we do have some capabilities that are brand new within just SOLIDWORKS electrical schematic. And for that, we're going to take a look at what Ann has to show us out of our Austin office.
Hi there, my name is Ann with MLC CAD Systems in Austin, Texas. I'd like to take just a minute to share with you an awesome new addition to SOLIDWORKS Electrical in 2022. One of the most time-consuming tasks of electrical design is the process of creating new components. SOLIDWORKS helps to ease this burden by allowing you to search for and download components to use in your SOLIDWORKS electrical schematic using the electrical content portal. You've always been able to do so through your web browser, but now, in 2022, you are able to run the electrical content portal directly in the task pane of SOLIDWORKS Electrical. Take a look. In the View tab, select the Electrical Content Portal icon. Here, you can easily see what has been recently added or updated. Let's search for WAGO libraries and check out what is available for download. PLCs have several different libraries that you may find useful. 2D footprints, symbols, manufacturer parts. Enhancements, such as being able to run Electrical Content Portal directly within SOLIDWORKS Electrical, gives you the flexibility to work most efficiently.
I love the ability to access that content portal from the 3D environment. As a primarily a mechanical designer, when I'm looking for components, let's say I'm looking for a motor or something like that, I'm looking for things like torque and horsepower. And the electrical aspects of that design are kind of secondary, which is a little bit opposite of what the electrical team is looking at. So by having it available in both environments, what it allows us to do is to search for things that are relevant to you, and then you can kind of come to a compromise and sort of say, okay, well, this form factor or this IP rating isn't going to work mechanically, but the electrical team has come up with some ideas for what would work electrically, and then you guys kind of come across one that would serve both needs. So very handy for collaborating and communicating between two people that generally don't know how to talk to each other and don't have any desire to talk to each other, which is the electrical and mechanical team. Let's talk a little bit about data management, specifically a vault. So for those of you that use PDM, we got some fantastic enhancements in SOLIDWORKS PDM. So let's go see what Braxton has for us in Kansas City.
Hi, my name is Braxton Kirsting, and I'm the applications expert out of the Kansas City office. Today, I'll be walking through the new features and enhancements for SOLIDWORKS PDM 2022. In 2022, PDM introduces powerful new capabilities to keep your designs on time and on budget, while keeping your design teams organized and informed. With tight timelines, it's critical to know what your teammates are up to, and with PDM 2022, hovering your mouse over the new login profile picture provides quick access to editing the presence note, allowing you to update your activity for the day. Want to know what your teammates are up to? Simply hover your mouse over their username to find out. New for 2022, transitioning from the bitmap preview to the eDrawings preview is now more discoverable with the help of a dedicated button. Interrogating your models is now easier than ever with the eDrawings desktop UI fully embedded. This familiar interface gives access to commonly used commands like the measure tool. With all its options, it also provides access to the component design tree, allowing you to cross-highlight between model geometry and the component list. Keeping design costs in check is a fine balance between designing from scratch and reusing past designs. For example, we need an ultralight deck plate for this new design, and new for PDM 2022 is the ability to incorporate your licensed XLEAD OnePart environment into PDM Professional. OnePart is a powerful search and discovery application that allows you to gain deep insight into your vaulted data. OnePart not only presents you with the results, but also highlights parts that share a 3D similarity. Selecting all three of these components allows us to compare them side by side in order to find the part with the least amount of weight. With the part identified, a simple button click opens it in SOLIDWORKS, allowing us to complete the assembly design while avoiding the cost of creating a duplicate part. No design is complete without ensuring the drawings are updated. New for PDM 2022 is the ability to use the Open Drawing command, regardless of what the drawing is named or where it's located in the vault. This command has been added to the right mouse button menu of the PDM add-in, allowing you to quickly access component drawings as well. As an admin, bringing new users into PDM is now easier than ever. The users and groups node has been consolidated, making them easier to find. The user property card has been updated as well. For Active Directory users, the profile picture is now imported directly from Active Directory, and there are more user fields available, making it easier for properties to be mapped over. In the group property card, administrators can now overwrite the Windows group name with a more descriptive name, making it easier to identify in the tree. Ensuring company standards is a key capability of SOLIDWORKS PDM. New for 2022 is the ability to block the transition of drawings that are saved in detailing mode. In addition to the transition block, the new system variable has been added for drawings saved in detailing mode. This new variable can be utilized in places like data cards in order to provide enhanced visibility to the state of a drawing. Receiving supplier designs in the form of neutral formats is an easy way to expedite the design process. New for Web 2 is the ability to fully preview these formats. STEP, IDIS, Parasolid, etc. can all be viewed directly in your web browser now. Also new for Web 2 is the ability to customize the data card. Removing properties like project name and project number from the card view is now easily accomplished in the administration tool. An option called Show in Web Card is available for each property control on the card. Additionally, a dedicated web card editor has been added. This new tool allows you to rename the fields that otherwise would have displayed the variable name. The layout of the card can be toggled to tree mode, allowing admins to drag and drop properties where they would like. Once saved, a simple refresh of the browser updates the view. With new user controls, search integrations, and previewing capabilities, SOLIDWORKS PDM 2022 provides the tools you need to maximize your productivity.
Man, there's some really big enhancements there. Specifically, some of the things like the presence note and just the full eDrawings preview. Those are the kinds of things that once you upgrade, you're going to immediately be addicted to those things, and you're going to think, how did I possibly get by without them prior to this? So definitely put a pin in this. Most companies, we don't recommend upgrading your PDM Vault before or like right at SP0. So kind of put a pin in this topic and think about returning back to this. We'll have a dedicated video on our YouTube channel coming up just for that PDM, so that when you guys go ahead and do the upgrade, you can go back and watch that one more time. Now, for those of you that use PDM and have kind of tried to make it like PDM on steroids and turn it into maybe an ERP system, or you have 38 different workflows for just about every possible process, you may want to start looking at SOLIDWORKS Manage. SOLIDWORKS Manage is kind of the next step above, and it's built on PDM Professional, so you're not going to lose any of the progress you've made to this point. Let's let Roland Robles in Dallas go ahead and take us through some of the new enhancements and capabilities in Manage.
Well, hello there. Roland Robles here with MLC CAD Systems Technical Implementation Team. Today, I'll be going through the new enhancements and features in SOLIDWORKS Manage 2022. Manage provides convenient ways to access, share, and document your designs and project information. Let's dig right in. New for this release is the ability to create HTML formatted notifications. These notifications can be visually customized to highlight key information for users. Also, the ability to incorporate web links allows users to easily access the record in the Manage web portal. This ECO is requesting the tank supplier assigned in the bill of materials be reviewed and updated to the preferred vendor. New for 2022 is the ability to create save filters for the bill of material. These filters can be user-specific or saved for enterprise use. Collaboration with others can expedite problem resolution. New is the ability to share the BOM by email or by link. Applied filters are honored and reference columns can be selected for edit. This shared BOM allows key stakeholders the ability to edit the bill of material without having access to SOLIDWORKS Manage. Once edits are saved, these changes are reflected in the original record. Dashboards can also take advantage of the new web link capability, making it easy for users like project managers to access projects while on the road. This design task has been marked completed but needs to be revisited. New for 2022 is the ability to uncomplete a task, allowing the assignee to finish any loose ends. For SOLIDWORKS users, the Manage add-in has many new enhancements. A tab has been added, allowing users to see their assigned task, and a convenient filter option filters out only tasks that have SOLIDWORKS files associated to them. Familiar tools like the task board are also available with the added ability to create new tasks directly from the board. From the structure view, selecting a specific component now shows any comments that have been made on the record, allowing users to see feedback associated with that design. New in 2022 is support for top-down bill of material design. This assembly has 2 items manually added to the BOM, each for the quantity of 2. These files now show up in a dedicated tab called Manually Added Files, allowing easy access for them to be placed in the assembly model. Once added, they turn red and can be removed from the list. Uniquely serializing components provides important traceability, and capturing uniquely serialized components as linked records is a powerful capability of Manage. New for 2022 is the ability to reference the linked record BOM directly on the drawing. Additionally, these linked records are now just a right mouse button click away, providing quick access to supporting documentation like the Certificate of Conformance. In Manage 2022, we now have the add-in for Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. This add-in provides convenient access to common Manage commands. Document properties like the description of this Word document are easily added. In addition to referencing the active document properties, you can also access the properties from a completely different record, saving time and ensuring accuracy. With new ways to access, share, and document your designs with SOLIDWORKS Manage 2022, we can now manage all your product data and take this to the next level.
Does anybody else wonder who it was that requested the incomplete task option? I like to think it's probably somebody that has to work with the new guy and get it all done and marked it complete, and then you go back and check his work, and it turns out it's not actually really all there. So kind of an interesting set of capabilities. So if that's something that looks interesting to you, let us know, reach out, and we'll see if that's something that might fit within your company. We're about halfway done, so keep those questions coming in the chat. I'm going to kind of be able to answer those as we go. So if anything comes up and you want to know more, we'll get those answers for you, or we will follow up with you afterwards to make sure you get that answer you need. Next thing we're going to look at is a quick peek at some of the enhancements in admin images. And for this, we're going to go to the queen of technical support herself, Nadia Shea. Now, if you've used SOLIDWORKS support with MLC CAD, odds are you have had a case with Nadia. She's been here forever. She works extraordinarily hard, and she's absolutely one of the best. So let's see what we've got.
Hi everyone, today we're going to start off by talking about SOLIDWORKS administrative images. If you don't know what these are, administrative images are a way for IT personnel to be able to quickly deploy SOLIDWORKS installations. There's also an advantage to engineering managers with administrative images because they'll actually be able to control what users get which product. So let's talk about what SOLIDWORKS 2022 will actually bring to the table with administrative images. So there's going to be two new options in SOLIDWORKS 2022 for deploying administrative images. Those two options are remote client and compressed. So the remote client administration image is actually designed for remote users, which we've seen a lot of those in 2021 and 2020 with the pandemic. And what this actually allows you to do is it allows the users to download the bulk of the installation files from the SOLIDWORKS servers instead of your company's network share, which sometimes that will happen over the VPN network. It will allow the end users to really be able to use their entire network without this VPN client on top of it to download the installation files. The compressed admin image will actually contain all the same components of a standard administrative image that you create, but it will actually reduce it in size, which allows for easier sharing. So for example, you can think it's almost like zipping up your administrative image. It's going to make that file size a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to deploy. Also in the administrative image option editor, you'll be able to stay organized by creating multiple nested groups. Nested groups are great because again, the sub-users can actually inherit the properties from the top level users. It allows companies to really create the hierarchy they're looking for when deploying specific assets. Drag and dropping in the user interface of this makes rearranging items very easy and convenient. Each subgroup will inherit the settings of the parent group, and this makes editing the administrative image simple and reduces the user XML file size, making deployments just even a little bit faster. In this example, most users don't actually need to install all the packages, so we're going to uncheck them in the global settings. However, specific users will need access to the SOLIDWORKS PDM server. Now in 2022, you're going to be able to create a vault view via the admin image. There's not going to be any need to run extra custom scripts, and this is going to be highly advantageous when you're actually deploying this image. So there will not be any post-installation options there. If we look at electrical users, they're going to need the SOLIDWORKS electrical client. Because of the nested structure we spoke about earlier, this can be done by checking a single box for the entire group. And in 2022, the user interface will give us a clear indication of exactly which electrical products will be installed. You can still choose to deploy it manually or automatically. Those existed before, and these tabs will reflect the nested structure of the setup tab, making it very easy to deploy to the correct users and groups. So in 2022, let's look forward to administrative images making deploying a little bit easier, a little bit faster, a little bit more powerful, and making our lives just that much easier. Have a wonderful day.
Oh, hey folks, Chris Salter here in MLC Atlanta office. Thanks for joining us for the 2022 What's New event. I'd like to take a few moments here to just go over some of the great tools that are available in SOLIDWORKS 2022 for managing large assemblies. Now, if you know from a previous release of SOLIDWORKS, we introduced what's called Large Design Review. Now, Large Design Review is a mode that allows you to open up massive assemblies with very few limitations. The large and complex, over 6,000 component Nemo submersible U-boat actually opens in merely 13 seconds, allowing you to get to work faster. New for 2022 is the ability to easily open drawings from a Large Design Review assembly in detailing mode, right from the right mouse menu. Detailing mode is an extremely efficient way to both open and work on your existing drawing documents. Like opening the large assembly of the Nemo, the drawing is opened rather quickly as well in only 21 seconds. Detailing mode is a fully interactive way to work with your large designs and large drawings that have already had the reviews created. In this environment, you can continue detailing your drawing, adding dimensions, notes, tables, and more. The ability to quickly access drawings from Large Design Review mode in this way will streamline how you work with your large, complex designs. Additionally, in 2022, you can open sub-assemblies from Large Design Review mode in this lightweight format as well. This ensures that you're not loading any unnecessary information that's not currently needed. Whenever you want to access the fully resolved models, you can choose to open them from the same right mouse menu. Likewise, you can always resolve an assembly that is already opened in Large Design Review mode. This ability to access lightweight files and quickly switch between them will ensure that you can work in the most efficient way possible. Moving components is now easier in SOLIDWORKS 2022. When selected from the Feature Manager tree, you're now presented with a triad that makes it extremely simple to get a component to just the correct spot, with controls for X, Y, Z, and rotation all at your fingertips. The Quick Mates toolbar in 2022 also gives you more control by presenting you with the option to make adjustments before adding the mate, such as alignment. This is also true when adding circular type mates, where you will be given the opportunity to lock the rotation of them before confirming. This is especially useful in the case of mates that allow for both of these conditions. The ability to add this extra control while mating with the Quick Mates toolbar makes it fast and simple to quickly build your assemblies. The intelligent pattern-driven component pattern get even smarter in SOLIDWORKS 2022. Now, when you choose a component to pattern, SOLIDWORKS will always choose that component's location as the seed for determining how to create and position other instances. Even if you change the location of the component to a different location, the pattern still assumes that the component you are patterning is the seed position. This means it's much easier to take advantage of existing patterns and hole wizard features to quickly position multiple instances of components such as hardware and rapidly populate your assemblies. Configurations are a powerful way to create alternative versions of parts and assemblies all within a single document. You can now choose to have instances of components included or excluded from different versions of the design. You can also choose to use alternative configurations of other components in each configuration. The possibilities are endless. And as more variations are made, keeping track of this can get complicated. However, new in SOLIDWORKS 2022 is the new configuration table. This table makes it much easier to both create and manage configurations. From the table, you can add new versions to your design, and you can also choose to toggle the suppression state of different components on and off. Likewise, you can specify which versions of components to use in each configuration. The controls make it easy to see your changes while you're working as well. If you make changes to the configuration manually, such as suppressing components that weren't included before, they will be added to the table as well. The configuration table also has filters to make it easier to focus on what's important. For example, you may want to ensure that the custom properties for each configuration are unique to each new version of the assembly. Finally, when looking at a bill of materials, there will be cases when components in the design should not be included. This option can be controlled from the component properties in the assembly to specify this. However, this can become time-consuming for parts that regularly should not be included. New for SOLIDWORKS 2022 is the new configuration option at the component level, where you can specify that a component should have this option enabled by default, saving you the time from having to change this each time the component is used. SOLIDWORKS 2022 introduces a wide variety of performance and usability improvements to ensure that you can focus on the engineering of your design and less time on determining how to manipulate them.
There's a lot of really good stuff there. The configuration table, you may have noticed, is something that has been in SOLIDWORKS for a long time at assembly levels. But what has been really improved, at least the big takeaway for me, is that you don't have to build those columns yourself. Any column that has been configured or any parameter that's been configured is going to get automatically added to that table. Meaning if you go to double click something to add it, you don't have an extra column for suppression state and configuration. You're going to clean that up or anything like that. It's just so streamlined and easy to use. So definitely some of the assembly capabilities are really powerful. Large design review, if you've got large models, that is absolutely your friend, especially the ability to open up sub-assemblies and dig down into the hierarchy, all while staying in large design review. So you can open up thousands and thousands of parts in mere seconds and then explore the hierarchy, check your design, and if anything needs to be changed, resolve only the components that need to be worked on. Now, he talked a little bit about detailing mode, which is a drawing capability very much like large design review. Now, let's go ahead and take a deeper dive into the drawing enhancements, specifically detailing mode, because it's gotten basically on steroids this year, and it's going to be super powerful. I think you'll be really excited with this one.
Hi everyone, let's talk about SOLIDWORKS drawings. Companies like U-Boat Works, they need to communicate effectively and build it right the first time. So they use the mediums of SOLIDWORKS drawings quite a lot. Now, complex models also means complex drawings. And so how do we deal with this in SOLIDWORKS? For the last 3 years, detailing mode, which is essentially the lightweight versions for drawings, has been constantly evolving in SOLIDWORKS and really helps us open up our large prints in just seconds. We can even open up drawings without the overhead of loading in the reference files or even having them on our machine. So let's revisit what we can do with detailing mode today. You can add balloons, edit notes, organize sheets, add dimensions, and set tolerances. That's a lot. But in 2022, we've inserted the ability to insert whole tables and standard views from the view palette. You can even print and save a completely accurate PDF from detailing mode. What about older drawings that you haven't been able to access in years? In 2022, SOLIDWORKS has extended the ability to open any prior version drawing right to detailing mode. This is great because you'll always be able to open up a drawing, even if you don't have the reference models. Detailing mode means that you can get to work faster on your documentation tasks. So what else is new with drawings? Let's talk about a new in-context menu. This pop-up lets you toggle a circular dimension, diameter, radius, or linear. For turn parts, the new symmetric linear diameter dimension will come in handy. These are double dimensions, which I can apply in a single click to a silhouette edge or in a batch with multiple axis mode. This new annotation type allows for a clean section view by eliminating redundant leader lines. GD&T, aka Geometric Dimension and Tolerancing, allows functional definition of component features and allowances, so I can clearly illustrate manufacturing intent. We've introduced a brand new interface to define geometric tolerance indicators. The intuitive step-by-step input is easier than ever. Specification, zone, feature, filter, characteristic, modifiers, and data references. Add adjacent and auxiliary indicators, text, and create stacked and composite indicators. You can even erase your mistakes. In a design like this, I also have many unique weldment parts, each with their own cut list. This is really rich data, but how do I roll that up to one assembly level table? In SOLIDWORKS 2022, the detailed cut list option is available for bill of materials of all types. This means you can aggregate multiple cut lists into an assembly BOM, providing you with more flexibility and depth of control. Predefined views are useful to give new drawings a standardized layout. Now in 2022, the flat pattern view is available, and there's a new option to toggle bedline visibility, increasing your ability to automate documentation of sheet metal parts. Proper documentation is a key component of bringing your designs to life. Add clarity to your drawings, share your intent, and finish these tasks faster with SOLIDWORKS 2022.
Did you catch all that? There's a lot of enhancements there. And a lot of things that when we were doing our live events that people keyed on that had questions. For example, how are you opening a drawing in detailing mode and adding annotations and dimensions and things like that to it if you may not have any of the 3D models? And you can almost think of it like the SOLIDWORKS drawing is storing internally almost like a DWG file. And when you open it in detailing mode, you're opening up that DWG that was based on the edges drawn from the models when they were resolved last. Meaning those edges can be dimensioned because they're geometry. You can also pull annotations off of them because some of them will have metadata associated with the edges. And so it's extraordinarily powerful capability to be able to open a drawing even if you don't have any of the 3D models and actually work in that drawing, doing additional annotations, modifying tolerances. That new GTOL block is really cool for being able to make complex GTOL forms. Don't call me to ask me what exactly that complex GTOL form actually signifies with terms of bonus tolerances. But if you've got to make one and you know what you want it to look like, you're going to have no problem doing that with the new layout. Let's talk a little bit about what we do with our drawings. So a lot of times we take our drawings specifically to communicate what the part needs to look like and then what needs to be inspected or how you know the part was built correctly. And so SOLIDWORKS Inspection specifically expands the ability of a drawing to tell a story and create things like first article inspection. But with some new enhancements in inspection this year, you actually don't even have to use a drawing necessarily. I'm going to let Travis Jones tell us a little bit more.
Hey, this is Travis in Dallas, Texas, and whether you outsource or handle your manufacturing in-house, verifying critical geometry is key to ensuring consistency for your products. Let's take a look at how SOLIDWORKS Inspection 2022 can help simplify and automate your quality assurance processes. The standalone version of SOLIDWORKS Inspection has typically relied on 2D PDFs to start the ballooning process. Now in 2022, support for additional file types have been introduced, the most significant of which is native SOLIDWORKS drawings. Now we can start our project by importing a SOLIDWORKS drawing directly into the standalone inspection application, and then extract the relevant part information such as part description, part number, and current revision. The same smart extraction method is used to gather dimensional and tolerance characteristics needed for this report. Here an additional note regarding the surface profile tolerance is ballooned and extracted with just a simple click. Notice that the software identifies the GD&T symbol, precision, and geometric tolerance indicators, which will all be included in the final report. Continuing through the extraction process, hole callouts and geometric tolerances are ballooned and remapped to the project bill of characteristics. Take a look at Balloon 5, which is home to multiple dimensional requirements. SOLIDWORKS Inspection automatically identifies each one and has broken them into sub-balloons as shown in the table. Repeating these steps for the additional callouts is a breeze. No manual data entry. Repeating these simple steps for the additional callouts is a breeze. No manual data entry is required. But what if we wanted a better way to communicate the information from the 3D part itself? SOLIDWORKS Inspection 2022 has dramatically improved the performance and support for SOLIDWORKS part files, which can be directly added into the inspection project alongside the current 2D sheet. The extraction process is the same as in the 2D drawing, pulling in and identifying the geometric tolerance and positional information, but now ballooned directly onto the 3D part. During the assembly of this bracket, a few critical welds along with some surface finish requirements will need to be inspected. Inspection 2022 now fully supports importing SOLIDWORKS assemblies to ensure proper fit, form, and function with all manufactured and assembled items. With the bill of characteristics created, this package can now be saved with all the associative 2D and 3D data without having to access any of the parts or assemblies inside of SOLIDWORKS. The inspection reports can be generated and include both 2D and 3D PDFs along with the necessary Excel documentation. SOLIDWORKS Inspection is also available directly inside of SOLIDWORKS itself as an add-in. And new for 2022, the add-in actually fully supports API. And this highly requested enhancement helps to automate the creation, ballooning, modification, extraction, and exporting of first article and in-process inspection reports. With all the new file type support and increased automation for SOLIDWORKS Inspection 2022, there has never been a better time to revisit your current quality assurance processes.
Man, those are huge. He didn't specifically say model-based definition, but for anyone who's looking at model-based definition, where you've got your geometric dimensioning or your tolerancing or information actually attached to the 3D model directly, you can just import that into the inspection project, and it includes the file, and they can then extract characteristic dimensions off of the 3D model directly. And then when you export that to a PDF, that's going to be a 3D PDF, giving them the ability to interact with and look at the model. So native SOLIDWORKS parts, assemblies, and drawings can all be used in the inspection standalone, which also means that your inspection users don't need to learn how to use SOLIDWORKS, and they don't have to actually use a license of SOLIDWORKS in order to work with the designs that you have. So regardless of how you want to communicate it to it, right? You got some shops maybe that you just send a 3D model and a handful of dimensions, where others it's a much more formalized process. You now have the ability to work in whatever way is comfortable for you to get those first article inspections out. Now let's switch gears a little bit. Let's kind of get into some more hardcore design with analysis. So the file set that we've been working on so far has been this Nemo submersible submarine. It's a for the super rich, if you want your own little submarine to be able to go in and mess around and stuff while you're out with your yacht. This is kind of the product for you. And Philip's going to take us through some of the analysis to make sure that structurally this thing is going to work out really well. I love Philip, and he's got some pretty funny jokes in there. See if you can pick up on those.
Hey, it's Philip Morrow from Austin, Texas, and I'm back to talk about my favorite simulation enhancements that simplify study setup and improve performance. For instance, the internal frame of the Nemo submarine is a completely welded structure. And these welds are represented by bonded contacts, which is the default for any touching faces. Solve time for this extremely common setup is now over 25% faster than in 2021. The submarine also utilizes a more complex hand wheel design to close the hatch before diving. In order to seal properly, at least 500 newtons of contact force is needed between the latch fingers and the retaining ring. That's about 112 pounds in freedom units, so I want to make sure the hatch design provides enough mechanical advantage that it can be sealed easily by your average submariner. It's pretty common to take advantage of the symmetry in geometry like this by cutting the model down to a third of the size, but I can take this a step further by removing the tie rod completely and replacing it with a virtual connector. The linkage rod connector accepts either cylindrical faces or vertices to represent rod ends. The end conditions can be defined as fully rigid, pivotal, and even spherical. Here I'm using cylindrical faces and spherical end conditions, and I could even choose from several cross-sectional shapes and define the section dimensions, all without having to spend the time to mesh the tie rod itself. And speaking of meshing, the software now defaults to the blended curvature-based mesher. This mesher does the best job of representing the geometry with the fewest number of elements, and in 2022, it also allows mesh control values outside of the maximum and minimum global size range, meaning you can locally refine or coarsen the mesh to just about any size for the ideal balance of solve time and accuracy. Now I only want to have to input about 16.5 Newton meters of torque to the steering wheel, and I'm cutting that value in thirds given the symmetry. After the analysis runs, I can review the shear, axial, and bending loads of the virtual linkage rod just like I can any connector, but viewing the contact reaction force developed between the latch finger and the retaining ring is really what I'm after. Multiplying this contact force by 3 is less than the 500 newtons requirement to properly seal the hatch. So my options here are either make a design change or drown. So let's opt for design change and try moving the connecting rod attachment just 10 millimeters further away from the pivot, effectively increasing the lever arm. This should add additional contact force without requiring additional input torque. Now this small change increased the contact force by 38%, and we're now safely past the 500 Newton minimum and no longer have a single-use submersible vehicle. With SOLIDWORKS Simulation 2022, your simulation tools are more powerful and efficient than ever before.
I love that blended curvature-based mesher. It's a really efficient way to do it. It also is much more forgiving because if you've got a geometry that has very small edges, it's going to do a nice job of blending down to really small elements in those areas. You still want to get rid of those and idealize your models as much as possible for performance, but that blended curvature mesher is going to do a really nice job. And the linkage, the big takeaway with the linkage is that it turns it into a linear interaction instead of a nonlinear contact. So anytime you've got a linkage mechanism where the mechanism itself is not in question, you know it's going to be strong enough, but you want that to not create a nonlinear 3D contact representation, that linkage mechanism, that connector, is going to do a really, really nice job. Let's jump into flow simulation. And flow simulation, specifically in this case, we're not talking about like the water flow through the thrusters. We're really talking a lot about heat. And flow simulation is absolutely huge when it comes to heat transfer problems, specifically because the things like radiation and convection can be so much a significant part of the overall heat transfer, and flow can actually take those into account directly and accurately. So let's take a look and see what's new.
2022. That was impressive, but not quite as impressive as SOLIDWORKS Flow Sim 2022. I'm Jared Degater out in Lafayette, Louisiana, and I'm going to show you some of the cool new functionality that is available to you guys with SOLIDWORKS Flow Simulation 2022. Flow 2022 offers some exciting new plots and the ability to analyze results across different projects. Now if you look here, we're currently testing a new high-powered LED lamp for the Nemo submersible. This new lamp can run at 3 different brightness levels, giving users more options for different underwater environments. Running a transient analysis while switching the lamp through the different power settings will give us valuable information about how the lamp will cool down and heat up based on the external water temperature. The Transient Explorer is a powerful tool that allows us to visualize results throughout a transient analysis. With SOLIDWORKS Flow Sim 2022, you can now display the flux plot in Transient Explorer, allowing us to get in-depth numerical results on how power is moving through this complex system. We can also now create a new equation goal after running the analysis. And that can process values of other calculated goals. So let's create a quick equation goal that will compute the maximum temperature of all of the LEDs over the entire transient analysis. We've also ran several steady state studies in a new experimental power mode where each LED in the lamp can be set to a different power setting. These experiments can determine if there are optimal configurations that maximize brightness and minimize heat at the circuit board. Comparing results between projects is necessary to understand similarities and differences, but simply putting 2 plots side by side is not always helpful. A new merge option allows us to collect multiple results and highlight the overall maximum and minimum values in one combined plot. The new differences plot allows us to create a plot that displays the differences from one project to a reference project. There's also a new results summary that tabulates analysis data, providing a high-level overview across multiple projects. The scene plot has also been updated to store model orientation, zoom, and part visibility. So creating that perfect scene will always retain the display settings to view it perfectly every time, regardless of your current view state. SOLIDWORKS Flow Simulation 2022 opens new doors on comprehending and communicating your results. Whether you're running one validation study or searching for your next great design.
I love that introduction that he does. Definitely be on the lookout for other flow videos on our YouTube channel that talk a little bit more about some of these things like flux plots, which kind of answers the question numerically, why is this so hot? Where's that heat coming from? And it'll say, well, it's 20% from this and 10% from this. I love the difference plot. That's going to be a really helpful one, comparing two designs where the performance is not significantly different between them, but being able to say, yes, this is 5 or 10% better. And then those scenes is huge. The ability to capture the orientation, the section view, the visibility of a lot of the result plots, and being able to resume that really quickly is going to help when you're reviewing a complex model. You may have really complicated pressure, velocity, temperature, turbidity types of performance metrics that you're trying to really look at and hone in. And by pre-creating those, as you iterate through the design, you'll be able to very quickly see what that information looks like for that design iteration, and then continue on with your design. Let's go ahead and take a look at the plastic injection molding process. Plastics has gotten some big improvement, specifically in terms of some of the more common things that you might want to do with things like family molds. So we'll kick over to James Frick and see what we got.
I'm James Frick with MLC CAD Systems Atlanta. SOLIDWORKS Plastics 2022 adds features and horsepower to solve more complex problems with greater ease. This plastic cover is bolted to two hoist hooks on either side of the hatch. Since it has an asymmetric design, both a right and left-handed version is required for the Nemo submarine. We'll start by adding material for the plastic injection analysis. The material database is key to any plastic simulation, and this year we've added over 100 new materials and updated over 1,500 materials to improve your fill, pack, and warp accuracy. For this part, we'll choose Delrin. The new Injection Location Advisor gives us immediate feedback on where to place the injection point. It even automatically solves for the optimal pull direction based on your geometry. But for this particular model, we've decided to go with a sketch-based runner. Using the updated and simplified runner tool, just click the sketch segment and choose the dimensions. The new flip dimension tool makes it even easier to build your custom runner. The number of elements for each segment is computed automatically. If we need a family mold to create cavities for both right and left-handed versions, in Plastics 2022, we can use the new symmetry boundary condition. This will create a virtual opposite-handed cavity in one step. Simply click on a plane that cuts through the sprue, and the new cavity and associated runner is created. But what if you need a family mold with the same part? The new cyclic boundary condition allows you to create additional virtual cavities in a circular pattern. Just create the center sprue sketch line, the number of cavities you want, and you're done. If you choose to model your runner system using solid geometry, both the symmetry and cyclic boundary conditions can also be used. To solve the analysis, the new Run button is a right-click from the tree. When analyzing your fill, pack, cool, and warp studies, turning on the symmetry option allows you to visualize the full virtual cavity. SOLIDWORKS Plastics 2022 combines additional functionality, simpler pre-processing, powerful automation to get your plastic injection done more accurately.
There's some really nice enhancements, and when you couple that with the bidirectional draft feature we saw earlier in the parts section, plastic part design is going to be really, really powerful and easy to do in 2022. we're almost there. I know we've been here for an hour. Great questions have been coming in. Keep those coming in, and then stay around afterward, and we'll actually kind of continue asking questions and having a discussion about what everybody is wanting to see. But the last one we're going to look at is visualize. And visualize, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, you're going to make some very beautiful pictures and some really compelling animations using visualize. So let's take a look and see what we got.
Hello? Are you there? Can you see me? Ah, that's better. Clarity makes all the difference when communicating designs with clients, and SOLIDWORKS Visualize 2022 makes it easier than ever for any user to generate professional and clear outputs. I'm John Duffin out in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and I'm going to show you some of the great new functionality that is available for SOLIDWORKS 2022. Bringing a concept to life early in the design stage through product renderings and animations can help accelerate sales and marketing initiatives. HDRI environments have long been supported in Visualize. These 3D assets not only apply a background image, but also include some scene lighting. This lakeside environment has the perfect sunlight source, but the background image will need to be replaced with something that is more targeted to the potential commercial audience. Since 2D stock images are easily accessible and come in all shapes and sizes, these can add the perfect touch to any rendering, but traditionally require a trial and error process to align the model's perspective to that of the background image itself. Visualize 2022 simplifies this process dramatically with the new match camera capability. Using the 2-point perspectives of the horizon and ship structures, along with the ship's walkways, the camera's focal length is calculated and applied to the 3D geometry. This builds additional photorealism into the project by seamlessly integrating the 2D image and 3D model. The next step is make sure that the location of the light source in the 3D environment aligns with the light source in the background image. Rotating the previously added HDRI environment and watching for the Nemo shadows to align with the shadows on the decking is easy. Unfortunately, the shadows casted off of the Nemo seem to bleed through the ship walls. This is no longer a problem in Visualize 2022. Primitive geometry can come in handy for multiple scenarios, and in this case, the wall primitive brings in a vertical plane, which then can be positioned and scaled to replicate the wall location seen in the image. New in Visualize 2022 is the ability to convert this geometry to a shadow catcher, which leaves the shadows exposed while removing the primitive geometry, giving the exact level of detail needed to this rendering. For the next image, capturing the Nemo in its natural habitat is a must. Leveraging configurations and additional cameras in Visualize is an easy way to keep all of your renderings in a single project. For under the water shot, updating the HDRI environment and background image from the library assets is just a drag and drop. As we saw before, it's important to replicate the scene lighting as close as possible. This time, an additional area light is added by switching to the top view and using the Add to Match camera to create the light source. At any point, you can switch between live rendering or preview mode. This is an easy way to manage system performance when setting up your project, such as adding and positioning additional 3D assets. For this image, including a blue line snapper adds a nice touch. But what about a school of fish? Previous versions of Visualize had the ability to create model formations, but required 2 or more instances. New in Visualize 2022, patterns can now be created from single instance, and with the scatter feature, randomize these fish by defining the number of instances along with the bounding box parameters makes this process a snap. For the final rendering, a third configuration is created to capture an exploded animation of the Nemo. With the timeline enabled, groups are selected and keyframed to define their start and end positions. Going through this process of keyframing multiple parts and groups can quickly clutter the timeline. Now in Visualize 2022, items added to the animation timeline can be nicely organized into folders using the group options. The animation ribbons can also be color-coded, making it easy to find and reposition these keyframes into the perfect place. The first camera is all set to a wide-angle perspective and is keyframed into the timeline. A single camera can capture the action, but multiple cameras really bring a professional touch. You can easily repeat the process of introducing additional cameras and keyframes to your animation with just a few clicks. Moving ahead, you can see 3 cameras created. Visualize 2022 offers a much more direct approach to allow camera switching from one camera to the next. By creating a camera group in the timeline, you're able to keyframe in which camera you'd like to have active, and when skipping the need to create additional edits in third-party editing applications. Going back through each of these three configurations, everything looks good and the final render process can begin. As progress moves along and each rendering finishes up, Visualize 2022 offers a new updated output viewer to keep your projects even more organized. Render settings can be reviewed and projects can be canceled or re-rendered as needed. And best of all project outputs are referenced and the final deliverables can be opened. Year over year, SOLIDWORks Visualize takes advantage of the latest rendering technology and simplifies it for every user. Generating world-class sales and marketing collateral like we see with the Nemo has never been easier.
What'd you guys think? A lot of really cool enhancements this year. If you have questions about anything that you saw today, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at our website or give us a call. Call your local team and we'd be happy to show you more about what the new enhancements are and what they might mean for your company specifically.